Hey guys, it's Eric G from Around the House Show. Is your barbecue just barely holding on and you need to upgrade it? We got you covered. Monument Grills was founded by three good friends in Atlanta, Georgia that wanted high-quality, durable grills inspired by iconic monuments. The grills are created for the person who loves to cook and are built to last and to enhance your outdoor cooking experience. What I love is that they are the best quality grills for under $900. So check out the American gas grill experts at monumentgrills.com. I bet you'll love to cook on one like I do. Check out the new standard in outdoor cooking at monumentgrills.com.
Now that is a tasty burger. Get your next barbecue at monumentgrills.com. It's Around the House. On this episode of Around the House.
But his replacement value on this building was $130,000. The cleanup of them stripping down, getting the water, getting it dried out from the broken pipe from the freeze was $105,000 that they get him at the bill with. So now he's got a house that is basically ripped down to the studs because it had 8 hours of water running upstairs, full half-inch pipe. He had no idea that the company that he was working with, the insurance company, said, we'll send our guy out there. And he got in trouble on that thing quickly because the cleanup before they started building it back was bigger than what the replacement value on the building was.
So when it comes to remodeling or renovating your home, there is a lot to know, and we have got you covered. This is Around the House.
Welcome to the Around the House Show, the next generation of home improvement. Thanks for joining me today. This hour is brought to you by our friends at Monument Grill. If you're looking for that kick-ass barbecue, check it out at monumentgrills.com. Well, something, guys, taking care of our homes and our biggest investment is always a hot topic, and we are doing it again today. We've got Andy Gurczak, All City Adjusting. Brother, welcome back to Around the House, my friend.
Eric, thanks so much for having me back on. Look forward to it. It was great the first time, so.
Oh, it's always fun. And I always call you like the designated hitter for homeowners dealing with insurance companies. You're like the guy that comes in, you and your team, and helps people in their biggest time of crisis after a total loss or a major loss.
Yeah, I've never heard of the designated hitter. I like that one. That's a good one. I like to say Robin Hood. Take from the ridge and get the floor. Whatever you want to say.
That works too. That works too, buddy. Well, man, I mean, with the brutal hurricanes we had this last year to wildfires in California, I think this is a subject that is like super top of mind for everybody, because even me up in the Portland, Oregon region, I looked around and I'm like, man, my buddy's house burned down in Pacific Palisades, and I stood on his deck and looked around and I went, man, little chance of a wildfire here. You got 2 miles of green around you. Should be good. And I was wrong. And so many people out there are trying to navigate insurance, maybe not even being covered for something like that. It's like the Wild West all of a sudden.
100%. And we're getting, and we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, we're getting clients calling us with policies, and all of them pretty much have called that we've spoken with don't have fire insurance. They have some kind of insurance, but not fire, or they just have the California plan that's very limited. That's basically, they're going to get maxed out on coverage. So really nothing that we can help with, unfortunately. It stinks. It's like Florida, but in a whole different way.
Yeah. It's crazy. I got a buddy who I'm going to be very vague because I don't want to bring up the company on this because I don't want him to lose his coverage. But he ended up, his dad passed away. He got his California house that he grew up in from his dad when he passed. And how he played the game is the agent who had been working with his dad for years goes, hey, I'm just going to add you as an additional insured on this. And we're going to leave the thing the same. And then in 6 months, we'll take him off. And so that's how he was navigating, because the company he was dealing with wasn't putting any new plans out for new people. And if he came in and said, hey, my dad passed, I got the house now, that was a new plan. So he did the sly sneak it under the radar with the agent's expertise. But most people are running into some severe problems out there. Or if they have insurance, so many people are underinsured. I was one of those after I talked to you about it.
And so when we get those calls, when you're underinsured or you have they look for us for guidance, and we could tell them like free services or where they can call or ask for help. But in terms of us as a PA, if you don't have coverage or if you don't have insurance or you have very limited coverage, there's not much we can help with. We can't buy more coverage, right? Well, if you have the right policy in place, yeah, we can go after all the coverages and get everything that's owed to the insured, but only if the insured actually has some kind of coverage, or you have a $4 million loss with $1 million coverage on the California Fair Plan. Well, they're going to pay that $1 million. There's really no need for a PA to get involved. No PA would take advantage and charge a client when they know it's most likely going to be a maxed out claim.
Yeah, I haven't had any claims, but my specific problem that I had an insurance company that I did online, right? So many people jump online. I didn't have an agent. I jumped online, got some quotes and went, all right, signed up online and had a plan. Didn't think much about it. But the problem was I bought my house here in 2019, 465. I've done a lot of work on it, put a lot of high-end stuff in it. And it's probably worth a little over $950 right now. Well, the problem is I looked at my insurance coverage and went, because it's a smaller house on a big lot, and their math said, okay, they're going to spend $300,000 for total replacement. And I went, oh my gosh, if I flooded my bathroom in my master bathroom and it went down and took my kitchen out, there's probably $300,000 in damage right there. I got a problem. And I had to, even working with my new agent, that it took him some time to actually have to go through and almost override some stuff because we were outside of their calculations.
Correct, because they use a system that calculates the replacement cost value. Now, that doesn't take into a lot of stuff, right? Because we have a commercial building that the insurance company tried to say it's a $4 million replacement cost. I could tell you all day, even with union guys, it's a $3 million max. Regular, it's a $2 million rebuild. It's all stone, it's all bricks. Then it's only the interior if something really burnt, but have to maybe a hurricane goes through it. But anyways, it's still max $2 million. So we actually had to sign. I had to tell the agent, hey, I'm way overinsured. So they made my wife and I sign a document stating that we are lowering our limits and that we understand if something like it was a whole thing.
Yeah. But it's crazy because I was going to be way underinsured if I lost the house because, again, I put nicer stuff in. I've got a steam shower. I've got other stuff that they just don't do in those calculations. I look at it and said, okay, if I was to pay a contractor to do the bathroom remodel, not construct it, to do what I had in there, it was going to be $100 and something thousand. And then it was going to be $100 and something thousand for the kitchen as well. And I'm like, $300,000 doesn't replace the structure. And then it's got to meet 2025 building code as well, which is, it's a 1977 house. There's a lot that has to go on to meet current code.
From what I'm aware, that replacement cost tool that they use to calculate, it basically calculates on an average built home, right? Agents used to be local. They would come to your house, Eric, and they would say, hey, I could see what you have. This is what we need to insure you. Well, now it's all virtual, or you can even get your own insurance. So if you don't tell them what you know, and how would a normal, right, what it would take to rebuild because what's in your house. But average person that purchased your home and the insurance agent says, well, $350 is your replacement cost. They would be like, okay, they have no clue what's in the house or what it would actually cost and the material and the labor.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was easy because I've been filming this entire show, my TV show for the last 2 years building on my house. And so I've got all this video stuff on it. So I sent a couple of the videos over to my agent. He's like, yeah, you're not covered for that. And I'm like, whew, okay, good. Let's get that covered. There's plenty of documentation on it. And that's, I think, one of the other issues out there as well is so many people have their coverage, but if they were to have a total loss, you got to sit down and put it all together.
Yeah, that's correct. It's just, we look at policies all day long for investors, landlords, and homeowners. Unfortunately, they just purchase a policy with no clue what they're getting. When they call us, first thing we're going to ask for is the policy, because we want to make sure that if we're going to help them, that we can actually help them, that there's value we can bring. If you, again, like the other ones, if you have a $2 million loss but only $500,000 worth of insurance, what can you do? We can't bring any more insurance to you at that point.
Yeah, and another thing I noticed during like COVID and stuff, you had people that were getting behind on their bills. Maybe they didn't pay their homeowner's insurance on that. And then all of a sudden, the mortgage company probably sent them a nasty gram and said, hey, we're covering our own insurance on it. And they went, oh, cool. Got my own insurance. But that's just on the structure. That's not covering their stuff. So they're really not insured, if I'm correct with that.
So if you don't have your own insurance and the mortgage has to it's called a forced place policy. The mortgage puts insurance on the, which is very expensive, by the way. It only actually replaces, it's only actual cash value policy, and it's only on the amount that you owe. So if the replacement cost of the building is $500,000, but you only owe $50,000 of mortgage, that's what it's covering. And it doesn't cover the personal property. They're only insuring what they still owe on the building, and they're smart about it.
Yeah, they don't care. The rest of it doesn't matter. Yeah,
exactly. It's not their, they care about the money that they have into it.
Man, that is huge. So if there's somebody out there that's listening, we got tons of people out there in the audience that are checking this out, and they're a homeowner. Let's back it up. What would be your best advice for people that are starting going, okay, yeah, I bought my house and I jumped online and got something.
Around the House will be right back with more from Andy Gurczak and All City Adjusting. Don't change that dial. Hey guys, it's Eric G from Around the House Show. Is your barbecue just barely holding on and you need to upgrade it? We got you covered. Monument Grills was founded by three good friends in Atlanta, Georgia that wanted high-quality, durable grills inspired by iconic monuments. The grills are created for the person who loves to cook and are built to last and to enhance your outdoor cooking experience. What I love is that they are the best quality grills for under $900. So check out the American Gas Grill experts at monumentgrills.com. I bet you'll love to cook on one like I do. Check out the new standard in outdoor cooking at monumentgrills.com.
Now that is a tasty burger. Get your next barbecue at monumentgrills.com.
Are you a small business owner? Has business slowed down? How is your website? Does it look like it's seen better days and those are behind it? It's time you fix it with SciPipe Designs. My friend Johnny that you've heard on this show each week, yeah, that's him playing in the background, is my go-to web designer that understands how to get your website and web traffic where it needs to be, and that's making you money. If you want personalized service at a much lower price than those big companies out there, check him out at sitehypedesigns.com. If you want a rockstar website to turn your business around, you gotta hire the rockstar. Just wait till you see my website coming soon. It's absolutely amazing. Contact Johnny at sitehypedesigns.com before it costs you even more money. Let's get that business turned around.
What's up? This is Sticks It In Ya.
And Satchel from Steel Panther. And you are listening to
Around the House with Eric G.
Yeah.
We love Eric G, and you should too.
Welcome back to the Around the House Show, the next generation of home improvement. Thanks for joining me today. We are brought to you by our friends at Monument Grills. Check them out at monumentgrills.com for that next barbecue now that we're heading towards spring. Well, today we've been talking with Andy Gurczak from All City Adjusting. He is a public adjuster, so he helps you navigate major insurance claims. Let's get back to the show.
And it doesn't cover the personal property. They're only insuring what they still owe on the building, and they're smart about it.
Yeah, they don't care. The rest of it doesn't matter. Yeah,
exactly. It's not their, they care about the money that they have into it.
Man, that is huge. So if there's somebody out there that's listening, we got tons of people out there in the audience that are checking this out, and they're a homeowner. Let's back it up. What would be your best advice for people that are starting going, okay, yeah, I bought my house and I jumped online and got something. What's their best course of action to start making sure that they're actually covered? And then if they had a loss or a total loss, that they actually have enough coverage to do that.
Yeah. And that's to reach out if they can look up or maybe be referred to a public adjuster, right? That especially one that the company that handles fire claims or large loss, that's probably their best bet. It takes, for a homeowner's policy, Eric, it takes a couple minutes for us to glance over and see what's needed. Because all we do is pull up the address, we pull up the home, we pull up all this information, have the policy, and then have a couple questions. We'll point out what needs to be done or what's not insured. We'll make that client aware. With State Farm, for example, right? And this was for myself. I actually had rentals with them. They took off a building, like you said, your home, if it had a fire or sustained damage, the building codes would now you'd have to upgrade. Right? That's not covered unless you have law and ordinance coverage. Now, State Farm took that off there as it was always included in their policies, and now it's additional. And so we had rentals, and we switched agents because the other agent closed down, and so I looked at our policies and our rentals, and I said, why don't we have law and ordinance? When I reached out to the agent, he said, well, because they took it off their policies, it's optional now. I said, well, wouldn't you want to offer that to me? Because it's $25 a year and it's $30, $40, $50,000 worth of more coverage. How would you not? Oh, yeah, we'll throw it in there if you want it. Well, yeah, of course, everyone should have it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So and again, if I had a fire, for example, one of those rentals in that short time that they switched agencies and that changed, I would have not had coverage for that. It's a lot of money. And I know all my buildings are 20, 30 years old, and I know the building codes, and I know what's changed. I know the insulation, energy codes are huge, and electrical codes, plumbing codes. So, yeah, a lot of money. So, again, having a public adjuster, I think that's your best bet to look over, because we look over policies every day. That's what we do. We interpret policies. Yeah. And most PAs that do large loss understand construction and have been in some kind of form of construction. So all that knowledge, they're able to look and be the best option for you. Or agents, like I said, agents used to make that round, but most agents don't, right? They're just selling policies. They don't come to the house. They don't have any construction knowledge. So it's a little bit different.
That's a huge deal. And if you've got a 100-year-old brick house, let's say, or you've got a commercial or just a light duty commercial building that's made out of brick, and you're in an earthquake area, you go pull that permit to build it out. The concrete or block or brick is still standing. All of a sudden they can come back and go, yeah, that needs to be seismically retrofitted. And you could have 6 figures on that rebuild cost because they got to go through and do all these changes to what was there before just to get it to meet code.
Correct. There's the code now, especially on older homes. I mean, they change so quickly and they're adding more, especially the energy efficiency. I don't know if the new administration, for example, that those energy codes now maybe become less or they don't go as fast. But I felt like the last previous years, every year, they were just adding more and more to energy codes, which I thought was good. I think when we built our house where we live, for example, the energy codes are still very behind, but I took it upon myself to follow, for example, Illinois codes because they're so high up there.
Yep.
Because I just know I actually wanted that. I actually like those codes. I think they're just really good for the home and just for energy efficiency and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for instance, my house built in the 70s, it was built with 2x4 construction. Yep. If I had to rebuild it here, it's got to be 2x6 construction, which means it changes all the interior dimensions on the house by a couple inches, which starts to make a difference when you're looking at stairs and things like that. It can add all these additional rebuild challenges because now the square footage is even a little bit different.
So now you have water damage, for example, right? Or damages from top floor, they say 2x6. And you say, okay, well, we can add on 2x6. Now you need an architect. Who's going to pay for the architect? 10, 15 grand to redesign the entire home, right? All that is covered if you have the right coverages.
Yeah, it's so smart. And one thing I noticed, I want to pivot on this for a second because it was something that I went, here we go. This is something that people don't ever talk about. I was watching because I had friends in Southern California in the fire area, friends that lost their homes down there. And I was watching the local news. And so you were getting I was watching KCAL down there and you was getting the whole story. Well, I was watching, I think it was the mayor of Pacific Palisades and the governor talking. And they were talking about, well, before the people got to go back to their places in there, before they can start rebuilding, we got to make sure that all of the lithium ion batteries that burned up and all this stuff, we got to make sure that hazardous materials gets cleaned up before they even go in and get the garbage out of there. In my head, I'm going, oh my gosh, hazmat cleanup on a 1/4 acre lot. And to get that out of there, no matter what old house, you got asbestos. I'm just shaking my head going, oh, there's just dollar signs ringing before they even clean up the lot.
So when we started getting these calls in California and started looking into all of it, we actually had commercials running on Fox and the influx of calls. After a couple of weeks, it was easy to see that who's going to make money or in that area. That's opportunity. Obviously, it's a huge loss, but opportunity for a lot of those hazardous removal, the debris removal companies, which is very profitable for them because that's going to be needed. And then contractors, developers, because for PAs, just like Florida, unless someone has the right insurance, which only a small percentage do, there's no need for a PA to come in.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And it
Yeah,
stinks
makes
because
sense.
if you don't have fire coverage or you don't have the right coverage, and you're out of luck.
You're out of luck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it stinks, man.
Yeah.
When people are calling you saying, hey, we have a $4 million loss and you don't have fire coverage or you have $1 million worth of coverage, it stinks.
Yeah. Now you're moving out of town and hopefully getting something out of the lot and trying to recover, which nobody wants to deal with. And that's just absolutely brutal. And yeah, and now here's the other question that I have too, like in great example, Southern California. You've got a whole area there that I think, in my opinion, we'll see if I'm right or wrong with that. I don't think anybody's moving back into a house in there within 2 years because you've got all of the code issues. You've got a code department that's going to be super overwhelmed. You've got all of everything from a coastal commission to all these different things. The hoops are massive. And do people have insurance? Because you're still paying a mortgage many times, right? If you got a small $2 million house in Pacific Palisades, okay, you're paying a huge mortgage. Your house doesn't exist. And now you're paying a rental for 2 years?
Yeah,
that's got to be just massive.
You just said it. That's perfect. So let's just say you do have insurance, right? And they're going to pay you the damage for the home. Great. So you're going to get money for the home, personal property, and then you're going to have money to relocate to live somewhere. Who's going to pay for your mortgage? Because your insurance doesn't cover your mortgage. And now, like you said, with all those hoops and dragging on with contractors, now you're talking about a year, 2 years of mortgage of 15, 20, especially with those houses, what they're worth. I can't imagine. And I hope people know about that and they know that insurance doesn't cover that.
Don't change that dial. Around the House, we'll be right back with more from Andy Gurczak. We're talking insurance coverage and navigating it. We'll be right back. Are you a contractor, landscaper, or small business owner? Are you tired of renting or pulling that worn-out trailer to the job site? Is that really the best look for your company? It's time to up your game and check out the trailers from Summit Trailer. If you want the highest quality trailer you can own, they are proudly made right here in Oregon with a dealer network all along the West Coast. What I love about my Summit trailer is that it's a dump trailer that was designed to work. I can load it up without having to worry about if it's going to be able to lift the load, and it pulls like a dream. This was built to work. So it doesn't matter if you want a dump trailer like mine or a deck over flatbed, tilt bed, or utility trailer. They got a trailer that'll fit your needs. Invest in your business with something you'll feel proud of, pulling up to any job site or your next project. Check out the best trailer in the West at summittrailermfg.com. Check out the dealer locator and find your nearest dealer at summittrailermfg.com. Water quality in your home is a hot topic right now. Everybody's talking about it. And are you worried about what you're drinking and you want to fix it once and for all? Are you tired of spending all that money on bottled water or a filter system that is expensive to run and maintain? I have a great solution for you. It's time you stop the damage and the worrying and check out Freedom Water Systems. They just changed their name from King Water Filters. This water treatment system takes care of every drop of water that comes into your house, uses no salt, no expensive filters to change, and it's made right here in the USA. Plus, it can prevent hard water scale. They have a solution for just about any water issue. To find out more information, head to freedomwatersystems.com, and if you use promo code ERIC-23, it will give you $1,000 off MSRP with a discount on the filter that will resolve those water quality issues. And if you need help, they have experts right on staff here in the United States to help you with your water quality issues. Don't miss out on this amazing sale on a product made right here in the USA at freedomwatersystems.com. That's freedomwatersystems.com. And don't forget, promo code ERIC-23.
Hey, this is Ron Keel, the Metal Cowboy from Keel, the Ron Keel Band and Steeler. We are rocking Around the House with Eric G.
Welcome back to the Around the House show, the next generation of home improvement. I'm Eric G. You know, we are brought to you by our friends at Monument Grills. Check them out for that brand new springtime barbecue at monumentgrills.com. Well, we've been talking with our friend Andy Gurczak from All City Adjusting. He is a public adjuster. He's the guy that goes out there and helps you navigate all those insurance claim issues. And there's a lot to learn. Now let's get back to that conversation.
I'll be honest, I usually don't have much faith in the system when the government goes, we got you. We're going to make it easy. Trust us. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, especially
when they
California.
say trust us, that's when you're like, oh.
Yeah, okay. All right. So when they say that, I go, oh, dang, revised. It's going to be 3 years instead of 2 because you just know. And then are they going to even let some of those expensive ones that were on the other side of the highway on the beach side, are they going to let them build back? Are they just going to go, nah, we're not letting you build there anymore? And we're going to see some of that, I'm sure. And yeah, I think it's going to be rough down there, but I feel bad even for any homeowner out there. And I know there's people out there going, oh, they deserve it. They're rich. But guess what? They're out there trying to live too and lost everything.
Deserves that.
Yeah, no. And the other thing is too, is how many people, and this is for the audience out there, could you double pay your mortgage for 2 years? Are you set up for that?
Yep.
And the insurance company's not going to be paying the full meal deal for your rental for 2 years. I don't think you've got that coverage.
So something we do with ALE coverage is we try getting that paid up front, try getting that extended as much as we can. And we try getting that ALE money to our clients' pockets instead of vendors. So then hopefully they can get a rental maybe for cheaper and still have some of that money to pay their mortgage, right? We try to be creative. Right? And most people don't know, but there's ways to be creative with coverages and get that money and help clients. So even in that, I just know our efforts and what we do and just that little thing, knowing that, hey, this family is going to be out of their home. Not only are they going to be out spending more and all that, well, now the mortgage is there and the bills. They're paying bills on both the rental that they're going to have and their old home. So, yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah. And even in my area here, we're not talking wildfire, we're not talking hurricanes, we're not talking floods, but we had an ice storm here and a house up the street around the corner, about 10 houses, 3 big, huge 150-year-old fir trees landed on the house. But it didn't like karate chop it down the middle. It actually hit right on the edge of the eaves and took the whole roof system and popped it up like you had opened up a can of soup and dropped it back down again. And they had to reframe the upper floors of that house. And I'm talking a 1,800 square foot builder grade, typical residential house. It took them a year before they moved in to that place. And they didn't have a fire. They didn't have a flood. It was just getting in there and getting that place built back up. But there was so much structural damage. It took them like 12 and a half months before I saw the moving truck back in there again. And that was pretty minor compared to the mass disasters we've been seeing. So I think it's something that really people should start asking and really sending their policies over to somebody like you to take a look and go, this is something that really could happen. I've got a winter storm out here right now with 40-mile-an-hour winds and blowing snow. First one of the season. And I was in the middle of the night last night hearing cracks going, okay, wasn't my house.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great thing for people to follow up and go, hey, am I covered for this?
Actually, funny question. If you have a storm, raining, thunderstorm, and you're at sleep at night, can you sleep? Or are you thinking, is there a leak somewhere? Because I think about, I'm trying to fall asleep. Yeah. I can't sleep.
Oh, we had 40-mile-an-hour winds and it sounded like somebody was outside my bedroom window taking a 2x6 and breaking it. And I could hear the branches landing in the neighborhood around me. And you hear the crack. And then you go, winds, thunk. Okay, didn't land on a car or my house or even the fence. All right, landed in somebody's yard. And that happens all night long. And so, yeah, it's the worst sleep you can get because you're just waking up all the time going, okay, we're good. So
we had a tornado warning last year. And I remember I'm hearing the sirens. I feel like the house is shaking. I'm like, oh, this house, what about the other rentals we have in that area? And I look at my wife, I'm like, hey, maybe we should go downstairs. She's like, I'll go to sleep. They always do this. I'm like, oh my God, I'm sweating in bed.
Exactly. Exactly. I was out in, funny story that I was out in North Carolina visiting somebody 20 years ago, friend of a friend, and thought, hey, had never been there before. So I popped out there. Single story, slab on grade house, and tornado sirens are going off. And we're barbecuing under their carport because it was so wet and stormy. We're watching 2 blocks over the tornado go. And I'm like, should we go in? He goes, nah, I don't have a basement. If it's going to take us, it's going to take us. Let's just, you want to flip the burgers? And I'm like, oh, this is such a bad idea. bad idea. I had a front row seat. And I'm like, is there another one? He goes, usually there's not two. And I'm like, usually? Yeah, blew my mind. I'm like, all right, maybe that's why you're in the Marines and I'm not.
Yeah.
He wasn't sweating it. I was.
But getting back to
it's crazy.
Getting back to policy, having us review policies. We don't charge clients, right? Like when we go on podcasts or we go on any shows, we always first thing I always say, or any of my colleagues that go on is, hey, we interpret policies and look over deck pages and insurance for free. Just because we know if we look over your policy or help you out and something does happen, you'll have us in mind. If not, no big deal. But it takes a couple minutes for us to do it. So we do it as free of service, and most BAs will do it. So people should definitely take advantage just to get a second opinion. Again, you never know. I guess no one thinks something's going to happen until it happens, right? And then that's the call we get. Well, we've had them for 30 years, and they're saying they're not paying for it. It doesn't matter. These days, everyone's a number.
They don't care.
The agent's an agent. He's a salesperson. Yep. The adjuster could care less. He's out of state. He wants to get home back to his family. He gets paid the quicker he gets out of your house. So unfortunately,
they want to move on.
Of course.
Now I want to pivot here into another subject that I think is big, and it's something that we're getting more and more of out there, but mold and all the different problems that we have with unhealthy homes. And maybe it's a water leak that nobody saw in the upstairs shower that came down, and all of a sudden you're seeing claims from that takes out an upstairs bathroom and it went in behind the wall in the kitchen, and now you've got a master bathroom remodel and a kitchen remodel in there. And then they've got to abate all the different things. These are getting into multiple hundreds of thousands of dollar projects. When I see you've got mold, maybe lead paint, maybe asbestos, this stuff's getting crazy, man.
And mold's not covered. So a lot of the calls we get, we just had one from a lady that called. And again, because we get this all the time, right? Where we had, water, and they send us all the documents and say, this is the claim we have. And we're looking and we're like, okay, you pulled that fridge out and you saw water leaking for the last 10 years. You tell me it's not covered. You could call it in. But a leak, maintenance stuff like that, mold in the wall that you found, that's not a covered loss. People have to be careful with what they're calling in. And they have to be careful with when you're saying abatement, right? Because mitigation companies and abatement companies will come and they'll mitigate the crap out of your house, right? And they always say, we're going to send it to your insurance, right? And they're going to pay for it. But what happens? Now, most of the time, the insurance company says, well, we're not paying for it. Who do they think the bill's getting paid? Because the lady that just called us, well, I have this bill from this restoration company for $50,000. I said, okay. I'm like, what's happened? She said, well, they said they were going to have the insurance pay for it, but now they're sending it to me and they're sending me to collection. I'm like, okay, well, when did this happen? She said, Thanksgiving. Water pipe from second floor. I said, okay, well, what's the insurance doing? Well, they haven't been here and they haven't answered my phone calls since Thanksgiving. I'm like, can I see her? And the first thing I asked, I'm like, can you send me a plumber report? And so she sent the plumber report, and it said there the water damage was because the toilet was old, it was wear and tear, the plumb. And I told her, I'm like, I'm sorry, man, but you're getting a denial. There's a denial letter coming. That's why And again, huge $50,000. Not only did she has a bill for $50,000, half of her house is missing because they mitigated everything. Oh yeah, so she can't even use her home.
Dude, I had a great example. So a buddy of mine who's been on the show, I'm going to keep it private because he had to go through this, and I'm not going to put his name out there, but lived in my area, had a beautiful mountain cabin that he had and really cool wood panels that were real wood, gorgeous place. Well, ice storm happened last year, that same ice storm we're talking about in the other house. Power went out, froze the pipes upstairs, called the insurance company. They sent their person out. It's 45 minutes out of town. But his replacement value on this building was $130,000. The cleanup of them stripping down, getting the water, getting it dried out from the broken pipe from the freeze was $105,000 that they get him at the bill with.
Don't change that dial. Around the House, we'll be right back with more from Andy Gurczak. We'll be right back.
All right.
Welcome back to the Around the House show, the next generation of home improvement. Thanks for joining me today. We are brought to you by our friends at Monument Grills. Check them out at monumentgrills.com for that next barbecue now that we're heading towards spring. Well, today we've been talking with Andy Gurczak from All City Adjusting. He is a public adjuster, so he helps you navigate major insurance claims. Let's get back to the show.
And if you don't have that money to do it, it's one thing if you go, I'll spend the extra 20, but most people don't have that extra 20. And for pennies on the dollar, you can run down to your tool rental store or the Home Depot tool rental or whatever you have in your neighborhood and get a dehumidifier and get some of those same fans that they show up with and do the same thing and make it a DIY project and get a lot of the same things done.
100%. And again, it's just knowing your body, because she asked you, so you're explaining everything to me. Why can't you just help me? Why can't you just take the thing? Because out of that 20, you're going to pay us a percentage. I'm just going to take money that I don't need to. I'd rather just help you over the phone, help you the next 3 days, call me, text me, and I'll advise you exactly what you need to do. And so that's what we did. And it worked out great for her. So thank God, because she was trying to, well, what do I do with this? I'm like, relax. Everything's going to be fine. This is exactly how you have to handle it. And it worked out.
Nice. So. Nice. It's like people, for instance, great example. People call up their insurance company and go, maybe they had that water break or whatever. They go, had a flood in my house. And it's, wrong word.
There's words we don't use. People always say that. We had a flood. I'm like, did you have a flood or did you have a pipe break? Well, no, we had a pipe break. I'm like, okay, so lose the word mold, lose the word flood, lose the word it's been sitting there. There's words you got to be careful when you call in to claim it. That's a lot of calls that we get is people denied or their claims delayed. But when we look into it, it's because they said, not that the claim is not valid. It's a valid claim, should be paid, because they used the wrong word. And now the claim is being in question.
It's the old, I have a flooded basement. No, you have a water damage in your basement from a broken pipe on the second floor.
Yeah, there's a difference. Big difference.
And so that's some great advice, Andy. That's one of those things that, the first call, if you're not having to call the fire department or the utility company to do it, of course, get your stuff out of the way. But as soon as you take a deep breath and go, okay, I got the problem stopped, give you guys a call first so you can help navigate it. So they don't blow through the entire insurance claim, just cleaning up the mess.
Yeah. And just, again, finding money in different areas to help them get back on their feet and make the most. No one wants to go through any kind of water loss, fire loss, anything. But if you have, then you got to make the most out of it and make sure that you are protected, that you get the claim moving forward, that you get that money that you're owed. And so then you can rebuild and make sure your family has the stuff that they lost. So that's, it's very important. And we're not just talking about our company, just for any good PA, right? Hire any good local PA that you can.
Yeah. Another one that seems pretty hot out there too, that I get a lot of questions on is, oh my gosh, I have hail damage on my roof. What do I do? And that seems to be one of those things when the adjuster shows up and goes, your roof was worn out anyway, so we're going to give you $5,000. Good luck. And they give you the thumbs up. What's your take on that kind of stuff where it's so subjective to what happened up there?
So that whole exterior, so we don't do any residential exterior claims. The wind, hail.
Got it.
We literally, if people call us, we'll recommend a local, roofing company, maybe a local PA company that just specializes in it. There's PAs that specialize, most PAs technically specialize in wind and hail claims. And so that's you just said they give you $5,000, it's old. And you say, well, no, there's hail. They go, okay, you think it's hail? We're going to send an engineer. And now an engineer comes out and he's always going to write this report that they want to see, that the damages.
Yeah, because he wants next week's job from him too. So,
and I know what the reports say. So it's the same thing. The hail is not from this hailstorm. It's from a storm 5 years ago. The damages it's always the same. They know what to use. And here, now let's say we go to litigation, right? And it goes in front of a judge. Who's the judge going to believe? A contractor, a PA, or an engineer?
Exactly.
Insurance company knows what they're doing.
You almost have to hope that they're professionals at this. And you almost hope that your cars were out in the driveway that had total losses on it from the hail. So at least you can go take a look at the car.
With that being said, most claims and most roofs here, like in the Midwest, for example, right? Those new shingles, the architectural, the timberline, whatever line you want to go.
Exactly.
They're so thick that when hail hits it, we've had hail there 2 inch, an inch, really minimal impact, really minimal.
Yeah.
And the insurance companies are paying these claims that a lot of them we see. We don't see as it even being adjusted, just being completely biased on the insurance side. I don't see that there's damage. It's not going to harm the roof. We can fight it all day and long. And then that being said, when I just shingled the roof with a friend for his mom, we took it upon us. We're like, we're still young. We can do this. Let's do it. Just to have fun. Listen, as soon as I was roofing, I was taking every shingle out of the box, the bundle. Each shingle, and I'm looking, it's got these little holes in it, right? And it's funny because when I see a lot of these storm damage claims and they're like, oh, this is damage. Look at this is damage. I'm looking at the singles. I'm like, this is the exact stuff they're pointing out that's on these singles that most of these guys have never seen, that they're trying to say it's hail. So I see where the insurance now has to be in defense and have unders because it's getting out of hand at that point as well.
Yeah.
So
no, and they're in the business of making money as well. It's that risk via reward for them. Okay, we still have to be, they're not a nonprofit.
Correct.
So I get that they have to show a profit every year, but at the same time, that's that kind of yin and yang that they have to balance with that. And I've always thought the hail one was always one of those like super gray areas because it's just so subjective and nobody ever documented what that roof looked like 2 weeks beforehand.
Correct. And so, you know, again, and in different states, different hail size, right? You go to Colorado, you drive down the block and you can see the damage on the roof, right? And you go in Midwest, these people are using microscopes to show the hail there. So exactly. I don't know. I stay out of that conversation, or at least I try to. Stick with the large lots, fire water. And when it comes to hail, we do storm damage, usually commercial, so it's more flat roofs. So a little bit different on that side.
Oh, man. Great advice, though. Great advice. Because, that's one of those things I always see and go, oh, man, that's a tough one. It's tough on both sides. On the PA, trying to help the homeowner, the contractor, and then the insurance side, right? So that is awesome. Well, Andy, we're going to run out of time here soon because we're almost through an hour of the show. But I wanted to make sure and see, is there something that we haven't talked about here that's a tip that somebody can get as a great takeaway from this to make sure that they're doing stuff right so they get what they paid for?
Yeah. Besides using a PA to look at their policy before they ever have a claim, and maybe they'll never have a claim. That's a huge advice, and make the most out of it. And then if they do have a claim, for listeners, call a PA first. Have one and call as soon as it happens. Let them handle that claim. That's what they do. They're professionals. But off the insurance topic, I just do want to say thank you to your podcast because there was a product you recommended that I'll be using at my house for the deck. So I do want to tell you thank you because I got it. Because when I was building, I went through a lot of your podcasts about materials, about a lot of the stuff. And I ended up doing the deck boards that were on your podcast.
Nice. Good looking stuff, I bet, right?
Amazing stuff. Best. I looked at a lot, the best. So wouldn't have known because they're not anywhere. I don't know if I can say it.
You got to find them.
Exactly. And it's
go ahead. Say it. You can say it.
I think it's Millboard products.
You got it.
Yeah, freaking amazing. When I saw my wife even, she's like, oh my God, this is awesome. I'm like, I know. So
it looks real. It doesn't look like a stamped out plastic, right? It's just good looking stuff.
When I get my deck done in the spring here somewhere, I'll send you a picture.
I love to, man. I love to. And we had a guest on a few months ago that's something that kind of ties into this. And for all of the listeners out there, go back and take a listen to this episode because it kind of ties in with this really well. And it's a local company to me, but he travels across the country, virtual home inventory. So he goes through and people pay for him and he uses the software that real estate agents use for virtual walkthroughs. And he goes through and does a virtual inventory of everything in your home and gets the model numbers of everything.
Hey, it's Eric G from Around the House. If you're enjoying the Around the House show, make sure and hit that subscribe button on the podcast player you're listening to right now. To find out more about Around the House show, head to aroundthehouseonline.com. And of course, thanks for listening to Around the House. Hey guys, it's Eric G, and I have a special offer for you. Do you want to get the podcast a couple days early? How about extended content that isn't in the typical podcast? Maybe you want to check out all the back episodes of the show. And I got a special deal for the first 10 days are free. I want to personally invite you to be an Around the House insider. For about $4 a month, you can get exclusive extended episodes, early access to the weekend show, and exclusive access to me, Eric G, for project questions or comments. Check on the link on your podcast player in the show notes or head to aroundthehouseonline.com and look for the join here button. Make sure and sign up today. As always, thanks for tuning in to Around the House.
From appliances to all the different stuff, we'll go out and get your art appraised, all that different stuff. So if you have a total loss, you've got a document that says, as of this date, here's exactly what I owned. And it's so accurate, you could actually take that plan that he has from the virtual inventory and they could upload it to an architect and they could actually help redesign the house. off of that. So it really does a really cool job of that. And it's a kind of a new
I
company
didn't hear
out there.
that. I will take a listen to that because they use probably the same software we use to scan the homes, except we're digging through it after it's scanned itself.
Yeah, you're digging through the ashes, and he's doing it before.
No AC, no heat. My guy's there for 3 weeks. Yeah, so
that is brutal. Okay, the last thing, Andy, before we go, how do people find you if they've got their policy and they're like, I can't read this. I have no idea. This is Greek to me. How do they find you to help, or if they're in the middle of or starting a claim, how do they get a hold of you to help you be their Robin Hood?
Just like last time for your listeners, I'll leave them with my cell phone number directly. If any of your listeners want to call, ask questions, text me. It's 708-655-4186. If they want to check out our website, allcityadjusting.com, or if they just Google All City Adjusting, they'll get all our locations, our reviews, all our podcasts, everything else we've put online. It's all there. But for your listeners, they have my number. They can call anytime.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. I love our time together because it's always so informative and we can hit the topics that are front of mind for many people out there.
Yeah, I'm looking for the third one. So I'm looking forward.
Oh, we'll do it. That will happen again. Thanks, my friend. I'm Eric G. You've been listening to Around the House.
Love song, let's be lovers. We're all over the radio. Take my hand, I know where to go. All over the radio with you.
Are you a contractor, landscaper, or small business owner? Are you tired of renting or pulling that worn-out trailer to the job site? Is that really the best look for your company? It's time to up your game and check out the trailers from Summit Trailer. If you want the highest quality trailer you can own, they are proudly made right here in Oregon with a dealer network all along the West Coast. What I love about my Summit Trailer is that it's a dump trailer that was designed to work. I can load it up without having to worry about if it's going to be able to lift the load, and it pulls like a dream. This was built to work. So it doesn't matter if you want a dump trailer like mine or a deck over flatbed, tilt bed, or utility trailer. They got a trailer that'll fit your needs. Invest in your business with something you'll feel proud of, pulling up to any job site or your next project. Check out the best trailer in the West at summittrailermfg.com. Check out the dealer locator and find your nearest dealer at summittrailermfg.com.